Hi, I'm NPR Illinois General Manager Randy Eccles, and we are thrilled to kick off the 16th season. That's incredible. 16 seasons of This I Believe. This is the 16th class of area high school seniors who are telling us what's on their mind, what they believe as they're just about to enter adulthood. With no further ado, we'd like to thank the Sunrise Rotary of Springfield, our longtime partner on this project, along with the other sponsors who helped make it possible for us to award the selected authors $500 scholarships for being selected. And now, let's meet the authors.
Good morning, and welcome to the NPR Illinois This I Believe essay program, Meet the Authors event 2022. I'm so glad to be able to be with you all again as we celebrate the chosen essayists of this year. Now, you may hear my voice from time to time, but if you don't know me, my name is Bea Bonner, and I am a co-host and editor on the show Community Voices, which comes on NPR Illinois Monday through Saturday, so don't miss that. But we're here to talk about This I Believe today. So the first thing I want to do is make sure you all are comfortable. It's early morning, so what I want you to do right now is stop and get your coffee, get your tea, get your donuts, and get your bagels, because we are going to hear some inspiring essays. We'll laugh, cry, and we'll have a good time. Now, before we jump right in with all of that, I just want to give a little background on the program for those who may not know. This, I believe, started as a radio show hosted by journalist Edward R. Murrow back in 1951. Now, this was a really great idea where you can hear people talking about what they believe, inspiring and encouraging words, and NPR Illinois loved this idea. So back in 2007, we started the This I Believe essay program here at the station. And since the beginning, we've had some great partners. Right now, I want to shout out the Rotary Club of Springfield Sunrise. Since the beginning, they have been our partner on this project and have done an awesome job each year with helping us to be able to get the essays out, get the word out to different people, and also have helped us gain more sponsors over the year. Thank you. I'd also like to thank right now the State Journal-Register, who has also been a great partner. They've collaborated with us by printing the essays each year in the newspaper and making sure the students get highlighted. Thank you as well. At this time, I would like to shout out some of our other sponsors as well, who also helped out tremendously this year. Again, the State Journal-Register, the Rotary Club of Springfield Sunrise, BLH Computers, KEB, Marine Bank, and Ronnie Mohan. Without you all, we could not do this. So indeed, we do thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize any dignitaries, legislators, or lawmakers who may have joined us this morning or who may have already acknowledged the students. Senator McClure, Representative Hamilton, Mayor Langfelder, and Superintendent of Springfield District 186 Schools, Jennifer Gill. I also want to acknowledge anyone I may have missed. Thank you so much for all that you do. It truly means a lot to the students to know that they are seen and heard. And last but not least, I'd like to give a special shout out and a huge thank you to my This I Believe essay program judging committee. It takes so much time to read these essays. This year we received 190 and they read all of them. Now there's a special method that we have for it, but they've judged them all. We've talked about them and we ended up with a really nice batch of essays this year. So again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to make a difference in the essayists' lives. Next, I'd like to introduce Liz Muir. She is one of the members of the Rotary Club of Springfield Sunrise, and she's also served on my judging committee for This I Believe for the past 2 years. Take it away, Liz.
Good morning, I'm Liz Muir. Welcome to the NPR Illinois Springfield Sunrise Rotary Meet the Authors Watch Party. This is the 16th year that this contest has existed in the Springfield area. 190 essays were submitted this year. Our task was to select 10 essay finalists. This was not an easy task. Each essay winner will receive a $500 check, of which $200 has been contributed by the Sunrise Rotary. So I invite you to sit back and soak up the stories and experiences of these 10 high school senior authors. These essays will leave you wanting more. And this, I believe.
Thank you so much, Liz. And I'm going to keep saying this, but I'm going to have to steal that last line from you. I love it every time you say it. And now the moment everybody's been waiting on, the reason why we got up so early this morning, the reason you have your coffee and your tea ready, we are ready to hear from the 10 chosen essayists of the This I Believe Essay Program 2022. First, we have Erin Classing from Lanphier High School, reading her essay, Great Grandma's Kitchen Table.
I'm Erin Classing, and this I believe. I believe in my great grandma's kitchen table. Most of my first memories were formed sitting around that circular table. I knew her by the name Grandma Chippy, a name bestowed upon her by my cousins and me because of the various assortment of chips she always had at her house. The many bunny cakes, the piles of candy that would be split evenly after an Easter egg hunt, and the fresh baked rolls nestled in a bowl in the center of the table are all ingrained in my mind. The large print calendar and the television remote became toys for my cousins and me. Sitting around my great-grandma's kitchen table, we celebrated many birthdays and holidays. When you have a large family like ours, the kitchen table doesn't end where the surface of the table stops. It extended throughout the whole house. People propped plates on their knees while holding a baby or stood while they ate. I never knew my Grandma Chippy when she wasn't attached to her oxygen. That didn't stop her from smoking and putting the butts in a paper bag taped to the kitchen table. Even when it got towards the end, when she couldn't tell me apart from my cousins, I still always wanted to be in that house. Her house was always filled with love and family. She inspires me to keep my family as close as she did. She inspires me to bake homemade rolls for every family meal. She inspires me to buy a house with a big tree in the backyard so my great-grandchildren can make lasting memories building fairy houses and playing make-believe. She inspires me to be a strong woman. I would do anything to go back to that cramped little house filled with love. When we inevitably had to sell her house after she passed, we didn't know what to do with the kitchen table. It was like we couldn't let ourselves get rid of it. So we did the only logical thing. We cut it up. Now we all have a small physical piece of her lasting legacy. She taught me that family and an old wobbly kitchen table are the most valuable things in life.
That was Erin Classing from Lanphier High School. Next, we have Sophia Bean from Springfield High School reading her essay, I Believe in Storytelling.
My name is Sophia Beam, and this I believe. The beast lurches through the undergrowth of the forest, breathing labored, growling. It emerges from the dark to face us, me and my brother, brandishing plastic swords and mismatched bits of old Halloween costumes. We strike our best heroic pose and call out and challenge. The beast, actually our neighbor, answers with a roar and charges. This was me at age 10, making iMovies, learning to believe in the power of storytelling. Skip ahead 6 years to the turmoil and uncertainty of the COVID-19 outbreak. During the isolation of quarantine, storytelling became my refuge. Reading and writing were the constant when everything else shut down. I wrote in my journal daily, describing my observations, picking apart my feelings and fears. I found that writing about my own stories was vital and therapeutic. In one journal entry, I reflected on a near-death experience from a whitewater rafting trip, how quickly the situation changed, and how being trapped in a current underwater at the mercy of the river made me more determined to connect with nature. I wrote a poem for my friend about her struggles with depression and self-harm to try to show empathy for her situation. Writing an elegy about my great-grandmother allowed me to honor her and describe a few of the small moments I miss the most. Sometimes my brother and I would create alternative endings to some of our favorite comics and movies, blending characters and scenes. We did crazy mashups that didn't make much sense, but they did make us laugh. We worked on story ideas, wrote character sketches, and watched some of our old iMovies. As restrictions lifted and activities resumed, I found myself shifting focus to the observational aspects of storytelling. Each day could bring a different lens, depending on the pursuit. I might experience the quick, hot anger that follows an elbow to the back during a soccer game. A little later, it could be the slow build of frustration when the next math concept isn't clicking. I could write about the high pulse rate joy of scoring a goal, the exhilaration of a tight jazz band set, or the weary satisfaction of finishing a volunteer project with friends. Although the tempo of activities has increased, I have continued my daily writing and journaling. Sometimes the entries are fragmented and disjointed. The poems are rushed and the story concepts incomplete. But sometimes they seem to work, and they help me keep things in perspective. I believe in the power of stories to help us empathize and relate to the struggles and viewpoints of others, to speak for the outsider or the downtrodden. I believe storytelling can help us face uncertainty with humor and courage. And someday soon, I hope that little kid who is making iMovies in the backyard can tell the kinds of stories that connect and resonate. Because the power of storytelling can bring us together. This, I believe.
That was Sophia Beam from Springfield High School. Next, we have Lily Brosh reading her essay, I Believe in Wrinkles.
I'm Lily Brosh, and this I believe. My biology teacher recently taught me that wrinkles form from the breaking down of collagen. Scientifically, she is right, but respectfully, I have to disagree. We rarely hear anyone talk about wrinkles in a positive way. It's either, I look so old, or I'm going to need Botox. Not many see them as beautiful, but I do. When I was younger, I used to play with the wrinkles on my grandmother's hands and form what I like to call mountains. I remember thinking how I couldn't wait to have all the same creases and folds in my hands as hers, how beautiful they were, and how plain my smooth skin was. Not only was I confused the first time I heard someone say how they hope they never get wrinkles, but I was offended. I was bewildered why anyone wouldn't want to have the same mountains as my role model. This wasn't the last time I heard someone say this, though, and every time I did, I reflected on all the times I've been in the sun without reapplying sunscreen or the constant frowning I do. I instantly regretted thinking like this because I never saw my grandma's wrinkles as ugly or as something she should hide. She never was ashamed of growing older, and I knew this because every time I would form the mountains on her hands, she would tell me stories from her youth to her 50s and everything in between. When she would do this, I believe we both had a mutual understanding that these very wrinkles on our hands didn't equal embarrassment, but that they equaled life. She was proud of the creases on her skin and wanted to make sure that one day I would be equally proud of my own. In every fold of every wrinkle, I believe there is love, sadness, joy, and so much more embedded in between. Wrinkles are signs of life lived, signs that you've experienced the highs and lows of simply existing. Some people don't ever get the chance to see their own or tell stories to their granddaughters of the beautiful life they've experienced, which is why no one should ever take these extraordinary features of themselves for granted. I would give anything to see my grandma again and hear all of the stories from her past once more. Though I wish I had more time with her, I am so appreciative that I was able to have 10 amazing years of forming mountains of life on our hands, which is why I believe wrinkles are simply beautiful.
That was Lily Brosh from Litchfield High School. Next, we have Kayla Atkins from Springfield High School reading her essay, I Believe in Asking for Help.
I'm Kayla Adkins, and this I believe. When a child is faced with a difficult task, they usually are not afraid to ask for help. As I've gotten older, I've realized asking for help is not as easy as it was when I was a kid. Maybe I had simply gotten used to hearing people tell me to problem solve on my own, or it could be I saw asking for help as a sign of weakness. No matter what my reasoning may have been, I now believe asking for help is not only important, but an act of great strength. There are a lot of things that make me anxious, And for a long time, anxiety was just another thing I needed to work out for myself. It was hard for me to articulate to people how I was feeling. And there was also the thought others would think I was being overly dramatic. Eventually, there were days when anxiety became paralyzing. There were times I felt sick, couldn't eat, or even had to leave school. I reached a breaking point and I had to reach out for help. I found comfort in my family, who helped me find a counselor that was able to help me find ways to manage anxious feelings. Looking back, I wish I would have asked for help a lot sooner. The stigma around mental health is a problem I've come to recognize in day-to-day life. I've had close relationships with people who think the same way I used to. They think they need to carry their burdens all on their own. I want to show them that it isn't true, and going to someone they trust and asking for help can make them feel that much stronger. Now, I try to be a person others can come to if they need help. Whether it be lending a hand or being a listening ear, I want others to know they are worth other people's time and energy. Maybe I could become the counselor I desperately needed for someone else one day. I believe in asking for help. And the thing is, it doesn't have to apply only to daunting situations. It can show leadership and strength in any area of life. Working together is almost always better than working alone. Even though I asked for help when things were really hard, I try to take what I learned from that experience into everything I do. It has made me a better leader who can delegate and ask for assistance on a project, and someone who's willing to be a helper when someone else is struggling. By learning it's okay to ask for help, I've learned the value of helping others. I believe in asking for help.
That was Kayla Atkins from Springfield High School. Next, we have Ainsley Wilson from Glenwood High School, reading her essay, I Believe in Acceleration.
I'm Ainsley Wilson, and this I believe. Accelerate. The voices of coaches and parents ring in the air. I throw myself at the finish line, knowing the race will soon be over and I can allow relief, pride, and oxygen to once again flood my body. I believe in acceleration. Beyond the era of middle school cross country, I have made acceleration an accidental habit. My naturally poor posture and quick pace make me a hallway speed walker. My habit of listening to true crime on long runs scares me into Olympian speed. In all that I do, I sometimes find myself accelerating towards one goal, head down, arms pumping. My most important encounter with acceleration came junior year in AP Physics. Daily, I was whisked away from the safe and comfortable walls of AP Language and Composition and thrust into a puzzle of pendulums and frictionless ramps. When preceded by the lively and captivating environment of literary discussions and Socratic seminars, physics pulled me out of Plato's cave and into the harsh light of the cruel world, or maybe lab station. However, beyond the formulas and theorems lay a definition that I find significant in all aspects of life. Acceleration can be a change in direction, not just speed. As someone who often finds herself screaming in her own ear to accelerate with all the intensity and volume of a middle school cross-country coach, I was shocked. Could it be that success is not defined as simply gaining speed? Could it be that acceleration involves exploration and curiosity too? Although I was once hesitant to make any sort of pit stop, diverge from the planned route, or turn from my carefully calculated future, I have learned to accelerate. As I look towards my future, there are so many things I want to pursue, and my laundry list of interests grows every day. I'm happiest curating shower stand-up routines, participating in kitchen counter political rants, scribbling millions of abandoned journal entries, and fostering an insatiable desire to share my dictionary-length catalog of ideas with the world. I'm fascinated by music, theater, comedy, economics, writing, and philosophy. I realize that it's valuable to slow down and take the necessary turns to develop all of those passions. Of course, change direction too often and you'll run in a circle, and that's track, not cross country. Although I may not be always vaulting at a visible finish line, by delving into multiple areas of interest, I am always accelerating rather than gaining speed in just one facet of my persona. I am so excited for the beautiful course ahead as I change direction with room for many destinations. I believe in acceleration. Life is not a cross-country race, it's a highway. Thank you, Tom Cochran. With twists, turns, exits, and rest areas, all equally deserving of exploration.
That was Ainsley Wilson from Glenwood High School. Next, we have Julia Bader from Litchfield High School, reading her essay, I Believe in Fast Food Napkins and Ice Cubes.
I'm Julia Bader, and this I believe. For most people, Fast food napkins and ice cubes have no correlation whatsoever. But for me, they provide countless memories and a very important lesson. My family is very tightly knit and very geeky. Every weekday at noon, we would take a break from our days and have lunch together. My grandpa, uncle, and mom, who all worked together, would carpool to whatever restaurant we had designated for that day, and my grandma would take me and my siblings there after picking me up from preschool. My family, being the geeks they are, and just having come from work, would always have fountain pens with various types and colors of ink in their breast pockets of their starched button-down shirts. I would always ask to borrow them to draw on napkins. Fountain pens, however, have delicate nibs, and my ape-like grip would have absolutely ruined them. My grandpa suggested something else: chromatography. My grandpa picked up a napkin and drew a simple line about an inch long. The line was drawn in the most boring black ink I'd ever seen, and I was confused as to what he was doing. He said, "Watch," as he placed an ice cube from his cup on top of the line. A beautiful rainbow appeared before my eyes, and I was in awe. My grandpa explained that all inks, even black ones, were composed of various colors, and that as the ice cube melted, those colors would separate and bleed across the napkin. That day, I had him show me that exact same trick with every single fountain pen in his pocket, every fountain pen in my uncle's pocket, and I even made my grandma dig hers out of her purse. I was infatuated with this for years, and I would ask him nearly every day, "Papa, can we do chromatography?" And of course, he would let me. And I would end up leaving lunch with a handful of rainbow napkins. To this day, I am still in love with the science and beauty behind chromatography. However, it's developed an entirely new meaning. Chromatography has taught me to not judge a book by its cover. I used to dislike using plain black ink because it wasn't pretty or it was too boring, and similar to people, I was judging it based solely off of its outward appearance. Some maroon inks had hints of an earthy green, and some brown inks had the brightest violets. But I learned from these simple science experiments at lunchtime that there is so much more to people than what they portray, and that is so incredibly valuable. I believe in fast food napkins and ice cubes, and I believe that beauty truly comes from within.
That was Julia Bader from Litchfield High School. Next, we have Kylie Eiding from Litchfield High School, reading her essay, The Little Things.
I'm Kylie Eiding, and this I believe. What made you even just a little bit happy today? Perhaps someone said something hilarious, or you found money in your coat pocket, or maybe you aced that test. There are so many things that can bring happiness into your life, but normally, as soon as that small amount of joy appears, it's long gone. It was just like any other day after school when I burst through the front door to my house with a sense of bitterness and slumped onto the couch. I had just lost what used to be a very close friend of mine the night before, and as a result, I definitely underperformed in all of my classes. I was feeling and looking a little worse for wear. My mom, taking notice of my miserable display, calmly asked me what was wrong. I hesitated, but I managed to utter out that my day didn't go too well, and I explained the events of the evening prior. After taking in my information, she then questioned me again, asking if anything that made me feel happy, big or small, happened. I was slightly taken aback. I had a terrible day, so of course nothing good happened. But then I took a moment to ponder her words, and I understood what she was trying to tell me. I answered that I watched the sunrise for the first time in a very long time, and it looked beautiful. I then said that some of my friends gave me hugs because they knew that I wasn't doing well. I kept telling my mom, and consequently myself, about all of these small things that made me feel happy, even if only for an instant. At that moment, I realized that while this day was undoubtedly not good, it became far better in my mind when I focused on these little things. Today's world is defined by the negatives. It's rare to see the news cover a story about something positive because that simply doesn't catch people's attention. Our society wants to know about everything bad that happens, which subsequently creates this byproduct of a gloomy view of the world. This translates back into our personal lives. I used to see the world with a filter of pessimism. I only saw the bad parts of life. But as soon as I started to look for anything positive, it was easy to notice a nearly infinite number of things that brought any sort of pleasure to me. And as I focused my attention to the positives, I started to notice anything that normally irritates me less. This also means that I began to practice gratitude for noticing these little everyday things that I took for granted so easily before. I believe in the little things. By enjoying the little things in life, I took on a whole new view of the world and created memories that I will cherish forever.
That was Kylie Eiding from Litchfield High School. Next, we have Spencer Hale from Litchfield High School, reading his essay, The Greatest Superpower.
I'm Spencer Hale, and this I believe. It can happen anywhere. In the school cafeteria, in the car with friends, during holidays with your family, or even over the phone. Conversation strikes at any time and under any circumstance. It comes naturally and most always with positive outcomes. It is one of our greatest gifts as humans, allowing us to form relationships and exchange ideas and emotions. It is the closest thing we have to a superpower. I believe in the power of conversation. I have always been a talkative individual. This characteristic has allowed me to develop close friendships, take up leadership roles in my community, and shamelessly express my opinion on matters. But it has also caused some trouble for me when I speak over teachers, share a secret I wasn't supposed to, or voice those thoughts that are supposed to stay inside your head. Regardless of the benefits or pitfalls of this characteristic, I believe this quality was one I was destined to possess, regardless of any effort to combat it. Being talkative is simply in my DNA. My shameless speaking habits can be attributed to my grandfather, who you couldn't truly find a moment of silence around. But his talkativeness was never overbearing, but rather created an environment of comfort. This allowed him to make friends everywhere he went, may it be at the local gas station where he picked up donuts, or even people on the street in a foreign country. Not even the language barrier posed a challenge to him. I had never quite realized the impact that my grandfather's talkativeness had till 3 years ago. For 10 hours, the line of people waiting to pay their respects to my grandfather had stretched far out the door of the funeral home. Every person that arrived through those doors brought with them a story about my grandfather that I had never heard before. Some being entirely on character, some off the wall, some funny, and some tragic. But every one of them sharing a common thread. Each memory was created from the conversations those people had with my grandfather. From only his words, he was able to form lifelong connections with more people than I thought it was even possible to meet. The thousands of conversations he had over the course of his life had created thousands of friendships. As with any passing of a loved one, life continues. The grieving process occurs, and once it's over, you begin to accept the reality of the tragedy. The most significant thing I now notice in his absence, and the most difficult aspect to accept, is the seeming quietness the world now has. Without him here, the world lacks the conversations he could have had, and thus the memories he could have created, and the joy that accompanied those moments. I believe that it is now my responsibility to make up for that loss. To never allow a potential connection with somebody to be lost in a moment of awkward silence. To simply have a conversation.
That was Spencer Hale from Litchfield High School. Next, we have Melissa Rufus from Hillsborough High School, reading her essay, I Believe in Showering in the Dark.
I'm Melissa Rufus, and this I believe. The feeling of the water gliding effortlessly over my shoulders sends waves of calm through my body. My back presses up against the cold tile wall, seeking comfort in the contrasting temperatures. The dim light from the corner casts shadows that dance with the water droplets on the sliding glass door. Showering in the dark is peace. It was a chilly Friday night in late October. I was on the way home from cheering at an away football game when I got an odd invitation. One of my friends was requesting a ride-along buddy while he was tilling bean fields. Making an effort to be more adventurous, I accepted. The bumpy ride was filled with laughter and sleepy country songs, but it was soon interrupted by an abrupt rainfall. Hand in hand, we abandoned the tractor and sprinted towards his gray Silverado. My white cheer shoes were caked in mud. The air held the refreshing smell of wet earth. As we drove home, raindrops rolled down the windows. It seemed like each tiny droplet was in a hurry, like it was racing against the others or even against time itself. While the rest of the world slept, the rain sang a soothing song. Little did I know that this would be my final memory of my friend. His goofy smile, the feeling of his hand in mine as we raced through the slippery field, and the sound of the rain pelting the truck were the last moments I can recall in person before he decided to take his life. Understandably, I was a mess. The hardest part about losing him was learning to find a place for myself in a world without him. In this process, I discovered showering with the lights off. The darkness that surrounds me as the water runs down my skin brings back the freeing run through the twilight field in the pouring rain. The droplets on the sliding glass door resurrect the rain rolling down the truck windows. This is where I come to be with him. Over time, I've continued showering this way to grieve, to learn, to be able to continue growing as a person. More than that, it is a way to keep the memory of my friend alive in a way that only I can understand. I've realized that there is beauty in spending time with those who matter most because time is fleeting. Showering in the dark is more than just a coping mechanism. It has turned into a belief, comfort, and a way of life.
That was Melissa Rufus from Hillsborough High School. And last, but certainly not least, we have Emily Yee from Southeast High School reading her essay, I Believe in Speaking Without Words.
I'm Emily Yee, and this I believe. 好棒! My grandmother's smile lights up her face as she gives me a big thumbs up. 好棒! The Chinese phrase literally translates into very good and means good job, but in this instance, it means I love you. My grandmother does not know English. In fact, she doesn't even know Mandarin Chinese. She speaks a Chinese dialect that I do not understand. She lives on the other side of the world, 7,515 miles away. I have only seen her in person for 3 days of my life, and I don't even know her name. Yet I can understand the pride and love she has for me, which is not communicated through the words she says to me, which I cannot understand, but through the look in her eye, the happy expression on her face, and the tone of her voice that tells me she cares for me. Her message revealed to me a perspective that I had never seen through before, one where I can see that communication transcends language and distance. When I was younger, I always avoided talking to my grandmother on the phone. I felt awkward waiting for translations and didn't know what to say to her. I couldn't ask her how her day was or if she was healthy. I couldn't share with her the joys in my life, and I felt discouraged by the language barrier. I thought that there was no way I could truly get to know her. The miscommunication conflicted with my desire for understanding. I learned Chinese so that I could speak to my parents, and I learned about the Bible so that I could relate to the people in my church. When I joined a program for aspiring doctors, I learned the lingo that doctors use. When I started to get into baking, I learned about different baking terms and techniques. I saw the impact words had on influencing my experiences in life, but when I called my grandmother, I lost the words I had worked so hard to gain. What I didn't realize at that time was how much importance I placed on words. I focused too much on what I couldn't do that I missed the opportunity to find ways that I could communicate with her through. When I see her face light up as she answers my calls, it reminds me that conveying a message is not done through literal words, but rather it is through the emotions you pour out. Nai Nai, it's my birthday, I tell her in her native language, as my dad corrects my pronunciation. 好棒, 好棒, she replies. This time, I know exactly what she means.
And that was Emily Yee from Southeast High School. I am so proud of all the essayists this year. You truly inspired us, encouraged us, and I know we even made some people laugh and cry today. So thank you, and I'm so proud of you all. And again, congratulations on being one of our chosen authors this year. Your work is truly paying off. Even though we've heard from the essayists and the videos, we still want to get to meet them and know them. Now, there are a couple questions that come up every year. Why did they write the essay? How was writing the essay? How does the recording go? So I want to answer some of those questions with our chosen essayists today. So the fun is not over yet. Stay tuned because you're about to hear a live Q&A with myself and this year's 2022 This I Believe authors. Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bee Bonner, and again, I am the Community Voices editor here at NPR Illinois. Now, I am so excited to be able to do this today, and thank you again for getting up early. I was telling the essayists this morning, I am not a morning person, so to be able to get to do this, it's really exhilarating for me, and I'm gonna just keep going. So again, thank you to the essayists, judges, sponsors, parents, teachers, everybody involved, because it truly takes a village to be able to pull this off. Now, this year, like I said, I thought it would be cool to answer some of those questions that come up every year. Everybody's really curious about the authors. So though every author may not be able to answer every question, we will still have a good conversation. And at the end, if there's one or two questions I can take from the audience, we will do so. If you have a question, put it in the Q&A box or in the chat box. And if we have time, I will get to that. But without further ado, I want to introduce and welcome this year's authors. We have Melissa, Emily, Sophia, Lily, Kylie, Julia, Aaron, Ainsley, Spencer, and Kayla. Now, authors, feel free to answer questions and jump into the conversation. If you don't decide to jump in, I will call you out. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have a good conversation. So just be ready to answer questions and feel free to respond back to each other because this is a conversation. So let's get to the fun. Now, the first question that I have is, who here was assigned this paper at school?
I was.
Okay, so pretty much everybody. All right, so a follow-up question about that. Did you know what you wanted to write about, and what was that process like? And Julia, let's start with you.
I have been reflecting a lot on my relationship with my grandpa this year, especially with doing all the speeches that I've done for my speech class this semester. And immediately, whenever I was looking over past winners and seeing that they chose an item that had some sort of obscure story, I immediately thought of all those times we went to lunch to draw on napkins and create those beautiful napkins.
Yeah, your essay was really unique. You know, when we first read the title, I didn't quite know where you were going with it, but I'm really glad we got a chance to read it.
That was definitely the whole entire purpose for the title. I wanted it to be like, this, I believe in fast food napkins and ice cubes. Like, I wanted there to be a confusion, and then I wanted for it also just tie together at the end with a unique and very personal story.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else?
I actually was doing a college application at the same time that I had this assigned to us in class. And it's funny because a college application question was somewhat similar to this topic, this, I believe, essay. And a lot of I think college applications really align with this topic. And I bet all these other seniors can say the same. When we're applying, we're always talking about our beliefs and everything. And I realized I was thinking about this topic that I wrote about, the power of conversation, and how it relates to my grandpa and my story with him and his lessons in my life. And in 2019 is when I lost him. And I thought about that. And I'd always known that conversation was something that was really important. But doing this assignment actually caused me to think of him and think of the actual connection in my life of why I had that belief and why I was actually strong in that sense. But it was a good essay to really connect with that part of myself and that memory of him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else want to respond or answer?
I actually had multiple written, and then I had a bunch of people like proofread all of them, and they decided which ones that they thought would be the best. But I am so indecisive about everything, so I had multiple different essays written and couldn't decide which one to turn in.
Well, I think this one worked in your favor, Erin. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. And I'm always really interested to hear about this. So what were you thinking when I called to tell you that you were a selected essayist? What was that moment like? And for those of you that go to the same school, did you all call each other? Did you all talk when you got to school? So talk a little bit about that experience. And anybody can answer this question.
It was funny because that day when I went to school, my health science teachers were like really excited and I was just so confused. And they were like, "Did you get a message?" And I was like, "No, should I have?" And that the end of the day, I had gotten your call and I was so excited. And the next day when I went back and told them, they were really excited for me.
That's awesome. Some of y'all are hard to track down, so I'm glad I eventually got to talk to everybody.
Yeah, I was at a bowling tournament when you called. I was in the middle of a bowling tournament, and so I like ran off to the side real fast to answer the phone. I was very excited.
Awesome. Hopefully, I didn't ruin your game too much.
I almost actually didn't answer the call because we've been getting a ton of like spam calls recently. And I was sitting there and I was like, this might be something for college. And I didn't even think once about this, I believe, because I did it solely for the assignment. I was like, just get this assignment done, get it out of the way. I didn't think I'd be here now. And then for some reason, I just like, let's answer it. And then of course, I got the notification. And then you guys probably heard that there are 4 Litchfield students here. I messaged a friend and I was like, hey, did you hear about this? She's like, no, but Lily did. And then I talked to Lily. And then I was at school the next day. And then Kylie was like, I got that. And then we're all talking about it in Spanish. And Spencer's like, wait, you got it too? And it was just kind of crazy to see that all 4 of us got it whenever Litchfield has only ever had one other person. But it was just kind of a crazy experience.
Yeah, and Lily and Kylie, do you want to follow up on that? What was that conversation like in class when you both found out, oh, we all got it?
Yeah, I was like Julia. Like at first, I kept getting calls from Chicago too, from colleges, and then I got like a call from a random phone number, and it says from Chicago, Illinois. So I was like so close to declining it because I thought it was a college again. But I answered and I was shocked. And then like I texted my friends that I got it. And then like 30 minutes later, they were also like, oh, Julia got it. And then it wasn't until the other day in school where I told my English teacher who assigned us this, and she said, oh, like 2 other people also got it. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Because like Julia said, only one other person has got it in the past 4 years from Litchfield. And to see like 4 of us, it was surreal and just kind of reflects on how amazing our English teacher also is, because she also guided us really well and she played a big role in all of us getting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I did not answer the call. But like I saw the email in Spanish class and I was like, you must have the wrong person because I don't think I'm not that good of a writer in my opinion. But like Julia looked over my shoulder and she was like, whoa, you got that too? And I was like, you got it? And she was like telling me that these other 2, that Spencer and Lily got it too. And I was like, whoa, like only one other Litchfield person has gotten it before. And I was like so surprised and honored and like about to cry at the same time. Because I was like so happy for everyone and myself.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna have to change my cell phone number because I grew up in Chicago. So that's the reason I still have a Chicago number, but I may have to get a Springfield number for the upcoming year. So thank y'all for the feedback. But I'm gonna move on to the next question really quickly. What was recording and reading your essay out loud like? I know I do this for a living. I record and talk on the radio for a living. So for me, it is very natural, but I still get nervous. I don't like speaking in front of people. Even though I do work in media, it is still hard for me. So for you all, what was that experience like? And Sophia, I'm gonna go to you with this question first.
For me, it was kind of awkward because I'm usually pretty quiet and I don't like to speak out a lot. But once I started reading it, I felt like it flowed a lot better. Because when I was writing it, I was specifically paying attention to like, how would this flow if I was speaking this to someone, like actually telling my story. So I felt like it was kind of uncomfortable at first because I wasn't used to it. But once I got started, it was nice to be able to speak my thoughts because I don't usually do that.
And I also thought your essay was very descriptive. So the way you spoke it, I think really spoke to like all the imagery and different things reflected in your essay. So good job. You sounded good. So you got that done. And Kayla, I'm gonna go to you next. What was it like, reading your essay out loud and being recorded?
Yeah, I think I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. I was just like, okay, I have to read this on Zoom. I don't really know what we're going to be doing. But yeah, I think kind of the same as Sophie. I started reading it and I was like, this is kind of weird. But once I started like reading through it, like the knowing that I was getting to kind of share my voice, and that was really cool. And something that was really important to me. I think my topic is something that I'm really passionate about. And like the more we can talk about mental health and things like that is just really cool and great for our generation and moving forward. So I was really excited to share that.
I agree. I think oftentimes a lot of people are too scared to talk about the things they believe, especially, mental health. And you all talked about a lot of things that us as adults, we're still struggling, to figure out. So to hear the maturity in your writing and, to see that you all experience the same things, I think it's going to change the minds of a lot of people. So that kind of brings me into a next question. Did you find that writing this essay or reading it or having people come to talk to you about it, was this an empowering experience? Did this give you any strength or make you feel any type of emotion? And Melissa, I'm going to go to you with this question.
So whenever I first heard that I won, my teacher was like, oh, congratulations. Oh my gosh. And I was kind of scared, honestly, to see just how people would react, what they would say. And then as people started coming to me and just telling me that it was beautiful and just that it made them feel emotion, made me very proud of what I've done. So.
Yes. I think you were able to talk about a really tough subject really well. It's hard to talk about a lot of the subjects you all touched on this year. And some common things I saw was losing somebody you really love. Spencer, you talked about that. Melissa, you touched on that a lot. Talking about somebody you may not be able to communicate and see on a daily basis. Emily, you covered that really well. Again, Kayla, mental health. Aaron, you talked about your grandma. I would have never thought to, split up a kitchen table. And, the things, I think, especially during this pandemic, we've learned to enjoy the little things in life, like Kylie was talking about. And Lily, you being appreciative of people's inside and outside, I think that makes it even better. And Julia, finding those little things that can make you happy, such as a napkin and a pen. I think it just shows us we all need to be a little bit more grateful. And Sophia's storytelling is truly, important right now as we're going through the pandemic. And Ainsley, we all need to keep accelerating. We all have to keep moving forward and, finding the different things we like in life. So I want to go to the next question really quickly. And I'm not going to force anybody to answer this question. I know decision day for college hasn't come out yet. I know everybody's still figuring out what they want to do, whether it's college, getting a job, taking a gap year, whatever it is, it's all good. And I'm going to tell y'all that whatever y'all decide to do after high school, it is all good as long as you're doing something that you enjoy. So I'm going to just keep encouraging you all to, just take advantage of everything that's out there. But if anybody wants to share their post-grad plans, I would really love to hear some. It doesn't even have to be where you went to school. It could be a job, something you want to study, anything like that. So I'll leave it kind of open here.
So I'm planning on going to Illinois College. I made the cheer team, and I'm going to most likely major in education.
Awesome. Congratulations.
I'm going to Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau to major in statistics and minor in biology to overall eventually get my graduate degree and go into biostatistics.
Awesome. Congrats.
Hello, I'm actually going to the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I'm going to study aerospace engineering at the same time as doing flight training to get my pilot's licenses.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Congratulations. Maybe one day we'll get on your airplane.
Yeah, hopefully, honestly. One I designed, maybe one I'm flying. That'd be cool.
I'm going to be going to Illinois State University, and I'm going to be majoring in elementary education.
Yes, maybe you'll be helping the future of This I Believe authors. Yes. Okay.
I have not committed to a school yet, but I plan to study creative writing, theater, and journalism.
Yes, come on this way. We need all the good reporters and writers in the world. So congratulations. All right. And so a last question, and I'm gonna throw this one to Ainsley. I'm glad you just spoke up, but I want to throw this to you. What words of advice can you offer to future seniors who will have to write this essay?
I would say that often what you believe comes from unexpected places because I started writing this essay about AP Physics, which is a class that I wasn't overly excited about. And kind of tying into the themes of my essay, it produced something really great. And it made me kind of realize what I believe, which is that sometimes changing direction can be a positive and accelerating thing.
Awesome. And that is so true. And I think that is the perfect way to kind of wrap up this year's This I Believe essay program. Again, I want to thank all the students, all the authors for taking time to write, record, and do all the fun stuff. Thank you for answering and looking at all my crazy emails. I know I was communicating with y'all a lot, but I'm glad we were able to get to this point. So again, congratulations on this year and congratulations on graduating. That's coming up in a couple of months. And again, whatever you decide to do after graduation, just take advantage of everything that is out there. And I know you all will be successful. So thank you. At this time, I want to take one or two questions for the audience. If there are any, drop them in the Q&A box or the chat box. So I'll pause here for a couple of seconds so you all can get that together. If not, we're going to hear from Mayor Langfelder next, and then we will wrap up. And I see some congratulations to you all in the chat box. Again, congratulations. I think you all know you did an awesome job. And we'll give it about 1 or 2 more seconds here. If not, I'm going to go to Mayor Langfelder to give us some final remarks as we wrap up here. And I even got y'all out a little early so y'all can head to school and work. All right. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mayor Langfelder to give us some final remarks and things to think about as we kind of wrap up here.
Well, thank you very much. What I do believe is the power of being smart with technology, and I hit the wrong button when I try to unmute. So all things serious, what today's sharing of your talents really showed me is the belief in our future. And I'm extremely proud of all the individual students that shared their feelings, their beliefs, and their values with us. And, you know, seeing the joy of a wrinkle or the need to accelerate or sharing the simple things in life, all of those touch my heart in a different way. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your talents with us. And I really appreciate the sponsorship of NPR and everybody else that makes this happen, because this will be recorded in history as each day that we face is historic in today's world. And I believe that we have a bright future with you as our future leaders. And I really thank your parents for the great upbringing and the support system they provided you, as well as your family and friends. I wish you the best of luck as you continue your life journey in all that you do. So thank you very much for letting me be part of this.
And thank you, and we appreciate you for continuing to support these students as they're making their journey out of high school into the adult world. So again, thank you, everybody. I see we have a shout out for Superintendent of District 186 Springfield Schools, Superintendent Gill. So thank you so much for joining us this morning as well and congratulating the students. At this time, I'm going to dismiss everybody, but if you want to hear this program again, you want to hear and see the essays again, you can go to nprillinois.org under This I Believe Illinois to see the essayists from this year and previous authors. We have have them all the way back from, I think, 2008, somewhere around that time. So all those essays are up there. If you wish to hear this program again, though, before we get it on our NPR Illinois page, we will be rebroadcasting this Monday at noon on the show Community Voices. So you'll be able to hear the audio from the show at that time. If there's not anything else, I just want to say again, congratulations to the authors. Thank you again to our sponsors, parents, teachers, legislators, everybody that helps make this possible. And have a great morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us.